Girls are wet when they show these 6 signs, psychology tricks. Desire is not something you force, it's something you allow to reveal itself. She won't announce it. She won't sit across from you and confess what she's feeling. But when attraction builds, her body begins to speak in ways words never could. And if you're not aware, if you're not grounded in yourself, you'll miss it completely. You'll hesitate at the wrong time, or worse, you'll chase when the moment was already leaning toward you. Here's the reality most men overlook. Attraction isn't verbal. It's biological. A woman doesn't need to explain her interest. Her nervous system expresses it for her. It shows up in subtle shifts in energy, in the way she responds to your presence. And none of that is driven by looks, status, or clever lines. It's driven by how you carry yourself, your calm, your certainty, your internal frame. When you're centered, when you're not seeking approval, something changes. Her guard lowers without effort. Her subconscious starts to reveal what her words are still holding back. Signals appear naturally, without force, without strategy. That's when attraction becomes real, unfiltered, and instinctive. In this space, you're no longer guessing. You're observing. You're understanding. And once you learn to recognize these deeper signs, you stop second-guessing yourself. You stop overthinking. You start moving with clarity. Because the truth is simple, the moment you understand her signals, you stop chasing, and that's exactly when she begins to move closer to you. Number 1, her eyes drop, then snap away. Number 1, her eyes drop, then snap away, and if you understand what you're looking at, this small moment reveals far more than words ever could. The truth is simple. The eyes don't just see, they signal. And when attraction begins to build beneath the surface, her gaze starts to behave differently, almost like it has a mind of its own. She wants to look at you. That is natural. But she also doesn't want to be caught looking. That is where tension is born. So what happens? Her eyes linger just a fraction longer than necessary, then suddenly break away, sharp and quick, as if something inside her pulled the brakes. Don't ignore that. Don't dismiss it as random. Be aware. This is one of those subtle psychology tricks rooted deeply in female psychology, where instinct and awareness collide in a split second. Her pupils may widen slightly, her focus softens, and then, just as quickly, she looks down or to the side, creating a push-pull dynamic without saying a word. That downward glance matters. It is not just shyness. It is not just politeness. It is layered. It carries a quiet signal that says, I feel something, but I'm not ready to show it openly. Across time, human behavior has wired certain gestures with meaning, and looking down in that moment can reflect a brief yielding of emotional control, a pause where her guard slips for just a second. But here is where most men fail. They see that signal and rush in. Don't. You must not treat it as a green light to chase. You must not break your composure. Because attraction, real attraction, grows in space, not pressure. When you react too quickly, you collapse that space. You make it obvious, and the moment loses its depth. Instead, stay grounded. Hold your posture. Keep your movements calm and deliberate. Let her process you at her own pace. This is where understanding psychology tricks becomes powerful, not to manipulate, but to recognize. Because when you remain centered, something interesting happens. Her behavior begins to shift. The next time your eyes meet, she may hold it just a little longer. The glance away becomes slower, less abrupt. The nervous energy softens into curiosity. That is how to fall in love, not through force, not through words, but through presence and awareness of these quiet signals. Female psychology operates beneath the surface, often faster than conscious thought, and when a woman feels something she cannot immediately explain, her body expresses it before her mind catches up. You walk into a room. You say nothing, but your presence is steady. She notices. Her eyes meet yours, then drop. She reaches for her phone, adjusts her hair, touches something nearby, not because she needs to, but because her body is channeling that sudden awareness of you. That is not disinterest. That is processing. That is her nervous system trying to organize a feeling it didn't expect. And this is where discipline matters. Don't interrupt that process. Don't try to fill the silence with noise. Be still. Let the moment breathe. Because when you give space, attraction expands. When you rush, it contracts. This is one of the oldest, simplest psychology tricks, yet so few men truly understand it. They think attraction is about action, about doing more, saying more, proving more. But in reality, it is often about doing less, but with intention. Female psychology responds to calm certainty, not urgency. It responds to presence, not pressure. So when her eyes drop and snap away, recognize it for what it is, a moment where interest flickers just beneath the surface. Don't chase it. Don't question it. Don't overanalyze it. Just remain steady. Because the man who understands how to fall in love wisely knows that attraction is not something you grab, it is something you allow to unfold. And when you stay composed, when you don't react impulsively, her curiosity deepens. She begins to wonder. She begins to look again. And this time, maybe her gaze stays a little longer. Maybe the tension builds just a little more. That is your signal, not to act faster, but to stay exactly where you are, grounded and in control. Because in that space, in that quiet exchange of glances, something real begins to form. Not forced, not rushed, but natural, subtle, and powerful in a way that words could never replicate. Number 2, crossed legs and the power of the pelvic lock. Number 2, crossed legs and the quiet power of what many men completely misunderstand. Most people see a woman cross her legs and think nothing of it. Just posture, just comfort, just habit. But that is surface level thinking. That is what the distracted mind sees. If you are paying attention, really paying attention, you start to notice something deeper. Something subtle, but incredibly telling. Because sometimes the body reveals what the mouth will never say. Let's slow this down and look through a sharper lens. Not with desperation, not with fantasy, but with awareness. The kind of awareness a high-value man develops over time. The kind that allows you to attract women without forcing anything, without chasing, without overreacting. That is where masculine energy becomes magnetic, when it is calm, grounded, and observant. When she crosses her legs while talking to you, especially in a moment where the energy feels charged, it's not always random. Don't jump to conclusions. Don't assume. But don't ignore it either. Because the body often responds before the mind has time to filter, before social conditioning steps in. And what you may be witnessing is not rejection, but regulation. Her body is processing something. Think about it. When a person feels completely neutral, their body is loose, open, unguarded. But when there's internal stimulation, emotional, psychological, or even subtle attraction, the body begins to organize itself. It adjusts. It shifts. It contains. That is what you are seeing. Not a wall, not distance, but containment of energy. The thighs tighten slightly. The hips may adjust. The legs cross, not to push you away, but to manage sensation, to maintain composure. This is what many men get wrong. They interpret movement as resistance, when in reality, it can be a sign of heightened awareness. And here's where you must be careful. Don't rush. Don't lean in. Don't try to confirm what you think you see. That is where most men lose control of the moment. They get excited. They speed up. They talk more. They invade space. And in doing so, they collapse the tension. That is not masculine energy. That is impatience disguised as confidence. A high-value man does the opposite. He slows down. He breathes. He stays rooted in himself. Because he understands something powerful, attraction grows in space, not pressure. You must give it room to breathe. You must allow her internal experience to unfold without interference. When she adjusts, when she crosses, when she subtly shifts in her seat, it often means she has become more aware of herself in your presence. That awareness creates tension. And tension, when handled correctly, becomes attraction. But here's the key: don't make it obvious that you noticed. Don't react like you've discovered something. Stay composed. Stay steady. That is what amplifies the moment. Because while her body is adjusting, while her mind is trying to stay composed, you remain unchanged. Calm, present, unmoved. And that contrast is powerful. The more grounded you are, the more she feels her own internal movement. The more still you become, the more she notices her own restlessness. That is polarity, not created by force, but by presence, not by words, but by energy. You must understand, this isn't about controlling her. It's about controlling yourself. That is the foundation of masculine energy. When you can sit in a moment without needing to act, without needing to prove, without needing to chase, you create a space where attraction can grow naturally. If she's seated, you may notice small details. A shift in position, a slight tightening of her legs. Maybe her foot moves more than usual. Maybe she adjusts again without clear reason. These are not things to stare at or analyze obsessively. That would break the moment. That would make you lose your center. Instead, observe lightly, like a man who is aware, but not attached, interested, but not desperate. Because here's the truth, when you try too hard to decode every signal, you lose the bigger picture. Attraction is not built on decoding. It's built on presence, on how you make her feel without trying to make her feel anything. And this is where most men fail. They want certainty. They want confirmation. They want a clear sign so they can act. But real connection doesn't work like that. It lives in the gray areas, in the tension, in the unspoken. So, don't rush to label what you see. Don't say, "This means she wants me." That mindset will betray you. It will make you act too soon, too fast, too obviously. Instead, think like this: something shifted. And then, do nothing. Stay in your frame. Stay in your rhythm. Keep your voice steady. Keep your movements relaxed. That is how you attract women at a deeper level. Not by reacting to every signal, but by becoming the kind of man who doesn't need to. Because when she senses that you are not easily shaken, not easily impressed, not easily pulled out of your center, something changes in her perception of you. You become rare. You become intriguing. You become the man who doesn't need validation to feel strong. And that is what defines a high-value man. Now, let's go deeper into the psychological layer. When she crosses her legs and adjusts her posture, she is not just reacting physically. She is managing an internal experience. A mix of awareness, curiosity, maybe even tension. She doesn't fully understand herself. And when you remain calm in that moment, you become the anchor. You become the steady point in a shifting emotional landscape. That is powerful. That is what creates lasting impressions. Because later, when she thinks back to that interaction, she won't remember exactly what was said. She will remember how she felt. She will remember that something about you made her more aware of herself, that she couldn't fully relax, but she didn't want to leave either. And most importantly, she will remember that you didn't react. You didn't chase. You didn't push. You didn't try to take advantage of the moment. You simply were. And that being is what separates the average man from the one who truly understands how to attract women. Because attraction is not about doing more. It's about needing less. Less validation. Less control. Less urgency. Be still. That is your power. Don't fill the silence. Let it stretch. Let it breathe. Because in that space, her mind begins to wander. She starts to think. She starts to replay. She starts to feel. And that is where attraction deepens, not in what you say, but in what you allow. So the next time you notice something subtle like this, don't overthink it. Don't underplay it either. Just recognize it as part of a larger dynamic. A moment where energy shifts slightly, where awareness increases, where something unspoken begins to form. And then, stay grounded. Because the man who can hold his composure in those quiet, charged moments is the man who stands out without trying, the man who leads without force, the man who embodies true masculine energy. Be that man, not loud, not reactive, not chasing, just present, just aware, just unshaken. That is enough. Now hear this clearly. Most men react. Few men remain in control. And that difference changes everything. Don't rush. Don't chase. Be the man who sees and still stands still. If you're ready to master that kind of presence, drop this in the comments right now. I stay calm and I let the moment come to me. Like the video, subscribe for more sharp, unapologetic insight, and remember, power isn't in what you do, it's in what you choose not to do. Number 3, the tone shift that exposes hidden desire. Understand this clearly. The shift in her voice is not random, not accidental, not meaningless. It is a signal, a quiet one, a subtle one, but a powerful one. You don't need her to say anything direct. You don't need obvious signs. You listen, you observe, you feel. Because when a woman is affected by your presence, when your energy touches something deeper inside her, her voice begins to change before her mind even catches up. And as Marcus Aurelius once said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. And that is exactly the principle here. You are not chasing her reactions. You are mastering your state so deeply that her reactions emerge naturally. Her tone softens. Her rhythm slows. Sometimes it rises slightly, almost playful, almost lighter than before. Other times it becomes quieter, more controlled, like she's trying to manage something she doesn't fully understand. This is not performance. This is biology. This is her nervous system responding to tension, to attraction, to the subtle pull of your presence. And most men miss it completely. Why? Because they are too busy trying to impress, trying to entertain, trying to prove something. They talk louder. They move faster. They break the moment. They destroy the tension. And once that happens, the connection fades just as quickly as it appeared. You must not do that. You must stay grounded. You must stay steady. This is where old Stoic wisdom becomes your advantage. You don't react, you observe. You don't chase, you allow. You don't escalate, you deepen. That is the difference. That is what separates noise from presence. When her voice shifts, when she starts asking small, unnecessary questions, when she lingers in conversation without purpose, understand what is really happening. She is not seeking information. She is seeking connection. She is not filling silence. She is extending the moment. And if you have an iron mind, if you are centered and composed, you will not rush to fill that space. You will let it breathe. You will let it stretch. Because tension, real attraction, is built in those quiet gaps, not in constant talking. As Lao Tzu said, silence is a source of great strength. And in modern life, where everyone is loud, distracted, always performing, this principle becomes even more powerful. Today, people are addicted to noise, social media, constant validation, endless talking. But attraction does not grow in noise. It grows in presence. It grows in stillness. So when you notice her tone shift, don't mirror it. Don't jump into her rhythm. Don't try to match her energy. That is a mistake. That is where most men lose control of the dynamic. Instead, you anchor. You stay calm. You stay slow. You speak with intention. You let her come toward your frame rather than you stepping into hers. This is Stoicism when in action, not theory, not philosophy, but real-life application. You are not trying to get anything from her. You are creating a space where she feels something she cannot easily explain. And when that happens, her voice becomes softer again, more grounded, more intimate. She leans in. She slows down. She stays. Not because you forced it, not because you impressed her, but because your presence gave her something rare, stability, calm, control. And that is what people crave today more than ever. Understand this deeply. Attraction is not built through effort. It is revealed through restraint. It is not about doing more, it is about doing less, but doing it with precision, with awareness, with control. That is why developing an iron mind is essential, because without it, you will react. You will rush. You will break the moment without even realizing it. But with it, you will see everything. You will notice the small shifts, the subtle changes, the unspoken signals that most men overlook. And once you see them, you don't need to chase anything. The interaction unfolds naturally. This is how you master modern relationships. Not through tricks, not through lines, but through presence, awareness, and discipline rooted in old Stoic wisdom. So the next time you are in a conversation, don't just listen to her words. Listen to how she says them. Notice the pauses. Notice the softness. Notice the slight changes in rhythm. That is where the truth is. That is where the signal lives. And when you recognize it, don't break it. Don't rush it. Stay grounded. Stay calm. Stay in control. Because that is the man who leads without forcing, who attracts without chasing, who wins without noise. That is Stoicism win. Number 4, when she touches herself, not the way you think. Number 4, when she starts touching herself, but not in the way most men assume, you must slow down and pay attention, because this is where surface level thinking will betray you and deeper awareness will set you apart. She's talking, engaged, present, and then, almost subtly, almost invisibly, her hand moves, she brushes her neck, traces her wrist, adjusts a ring that didn't need adjusting, smooths her sleeve twice, runs her fingers along her thigh, and the untrained eye labels it as boredom. Distraction, nervous habit, but don't make that mistake. Don't reduce what you're seeing to something small, because this is where psychology tricks and real female psychology begin to reveal themselves in raw form. This is where the body speaks louder than any rehearsed words about how to fall in love. What's actually happening is simple but powerful. Her nervous system is activated by your presence, not in a loud or dramatic way, but in a quiet, internal surge of energy that she cannot immediately express outwardly. So the body redirects it inward, and her hands become the outlet, the regulator, the translator of that hidden tension. Understand this clearly. When a woman feels a subtle mix of attraction, curiosity, and emotional stimulation, her system seeks balance, and since she cannot yet act directly toward you, she unconsciously acts toward herself. That is the mechanism. That is the signal, and if you miss it, you miss the moment. She might stroke her collarbone slowly as if lost in thought, but she's not lost. She's processing. She might press her lips lightly or touch them with her fingers. She might hold the side of her neck for no reason, or glide her hand down her leg in a motion that looks casual, but is anything but accidental. And this is where most men fail. They react, they interrupt, they joke, they point it out, they break the tension, and the moment collapses. Don't do that. Don't rush to fill silence. Don't try to control what is already unfolding in your favor, because these psychology tricks only work if you have the discipline to let them breathe. And this is where understanding female psychology separates the reactive man from the composed one. Her body is seeking relief from the energy you are creating, and because you remain steady, because you are not chasing, not fidgeting, not trying to impress, that energy has nowhere to go but back into her own system, amplifying the sensation, deepening the awareness, intensifying the connection she feels without needing to explain it. And this is exactly how to fall in love begins at a subconscious level, not through words, not through persuasion, but through presence, through emotional control, through stillness that invites her to feel more than she can logically process. Now here's the key. Watch the pattern, not just the action, because random movement is scattered, but meaningful movement repeats. It gravitates towards specific areas: her throat, her wrists, her thighs, her lips. These are sensitive zones, not just physically but neurologically. And when her hands return there again and again, it's not coincidence, it's response. It's her system looping around the same sensation, trying to understand it, trying to regulate it, trying to manage the subtle intensity of being around you. And here is where your role becomes critical. You must remain grounded. You must hold eye contact without staring aggressively. You must be present without leaning in too fast. You must let the silence stretch just enough for her to feel it, because tension, when handled correctly, is not awkward. It is magnetic. It is the invisible thread that pulls attention, emotion, and curiosity together. Most men fear silence. They rush to break it, but you must learn to use it, to sit in it, to let it do the work for you. Because while she is touching her own skin, adjusting, smoothing, tracing, what she is really doing is engaging with the feeling you are creating inside her. And the less you interfere, the stronger that feeling becomes. Understand this deeply. She is not consciously deciding. She is reacting. Her body is leading. Her mind is catching up. And that gap between body and logic is where attraction grows strongest, where female psychology becomes unpredictable and powerful. where how to fall in love is not a checklist, but a lived experience unfolding in real time. And here's the truth that many avoid: you don't need to exploit it, you don't need to comment on it, you don't need to turn it into something obvious. Because the moment you do, you bring it from the subconscious into the conscious, and once that happens, it loses its intensity, its mystery, its pull. Instead, you stay composed, you stay centered, you let her experience it fully without interruption, and that is where real influence lies, not in what you say, but in what you allow to happen. These psychology tricks are not about manipulation. They are about awareness, about seeing what is already there and choosing not to disrupt it, about understanding female psychology at a level that respects its subtlety rather than forcing it into something loud and predictable. And when you do this consistently, when you hold your energy steady while hers fluctuates, when you remain calm while she processes the tension internally, something shifts, something locks in, and she begins to associate that feeling, that quiet intensity, that unspoken pull with you, not because you demanded it, but because you created the space for it to grow. That is the difference. That is the edge. That is how to fall in love starts, without either of you needing to say a single word. And if you can master this, if you can recognize these signals and respond with stillness instead of noise, with presence instead of pressure, then you step into a different level entirely, one where attraction is not chased, but allowed, not forced, but felt, not explained, but experienced. If you understand this, don't chase, don't interrupt, don't break your frame, hold your ground, and let her energy reveal everything. That is where real attraction is built. Like the video, subscribe for more sharp, no nonsense insight, and drop this in the comments to lock it in your mind. I stay calm and I let her come to me. Number 5, her legs move, but she's not going anywhere. You're sitting close to her. There's space between you. No touching, barely any words. On the surface, it looks calm, almost quiet. But if you pay attention, real attention, you'll notice something most men completely miss. Her foot keeps bouncing. Her knee twitches. Her thighs shift, cross, uncross, then cross again. Over and over. Now here's where the average man gets it wrong. He assumes discomfort. He assumes boredom. He assumes she wants out. Don't make that mistake. That is surface level thinking. That is reacting without understanding. She's not trying to leave. She's trying to handle what she's feeling. Let's break this down in a deeper, more grounded way. When a woman feels a rising emotional or physical charge, subtle or intense, and she's not ready to express it openly, that energy doesn't disappear. It has to go somewhere. The body always finds a way, and often it shows up in movement. Small, repeated, almost unconscious movement. This is what psychologists refer to as psychomotor agitation. Not anxiety in the way most people think. Not fear. Not discomfort. It's tension, buildup, a quiet overflow of internal stimulation. And where does it show up most clearly? In the lower body. So when her legs keep moving, when she can't seem to stay still, when she shifts every few seconds, it's not random. It's not meaningless. Her system is processing something. Hormones are moving. Signals are firing. Dopamine, oxytocin, adrenaline. A mix that creates alertness, curiosity, and a kind of restless awareness she may not even fully understand yet. And here's the key: this isn't about escaping. It's about containing. She's managing the pressure. Now, this is where your role matters. This is where you separate yourself from the crowd. Most men panic in this moment. They see movement and think they need to act. They lean in. They talk more. They crack jokes. They try to break the tension because they're uncomfortable with silence. Don't do that. Be still. That is what a high-value man understands. He doesn't rush to fill space. He doesn't interrupt the moment. He doesn't chase reactions. He allows them to unfold. You must recognize this. Tension is not your enemy. It is your ally. When you carry grounded masculine energy, when your presence is calm, steady, and unshaken, you don't react to her movement. You observe it. You stay centered. You stay composed. That is what makes the difference. That is what begins to attract women on a deeper level. Because now something interesting happens. The more still you are, the more obvious her movement becomes, not just to you, but to her. She starts noticing it. She becomes aware of her own body in a new way. Her leg won't stop. Her posture keeps changing. She feels it, but she can't fully explain it. And that awareness creates a loop. She starts asking herself questions. Why can't I sit still? Why do I feel this way right now? Why does his presence affect me like this? And here's the turning point. While she's questioning herself, she's also noticing you. You're calm. You're grounded. You're not reacting. You're not chasing. You're not trying to control the moment. That contrast is powerful because most people mirror each other's energy, but you don't. You hold your frame. You stay steady while her internal world is shifting. And that creates curiosity. That creates intrigue. That begins to pull her in. This is how a high-value man operates. Quiet control. No need for noise. No need for performance. Understand this clearly. Attraction is not just physical. It is psychological. A woman doesn't fall into that state simply because of what she sees. She falls into it because of what she feels and, more importantly, what she cannot fully explain. When her body reacts before her mind catches up, when her emotions begin to surface without permission, that's when things become real. And if you're the one present in that moment, if your masculine energy is stable and grounded, you become associated with that feeling. Not because you forced it, not because you chased it, but because you allowed it. That is power. Now don't misunderstand. This is not about manipulation. This is not about playing games. This is about self-mastery, emotional discipline, awareness. Be the man who doesn't rush. Be the man who doesn't interrupt tension. Be the man who understands that silence can speak louder than words. Because when you learn to hold space instead of filling it, when you learn to stay calm instead of reacting, you naturally attract women without effort. And here's the deeper truth most people never talk about. When she feels something she can't control, she doesn't just notice the feeling. She starts to associate that feeling with you. You become more than just a person in front of her. You become an experience, a trigger, a presence she can't quite define, but doesn't want to ignore. That is why your stillness matters. Because in a world where everyone is trying too hard, talking too much, moving too fast, you stand out by doing less, by being grounded, by being centered. That is masculine energy at its highest form. Not loud, not forceful, just steady. So the next time you notice her legs moving, don't jump to conclusions. Don't rush to act. Don't try to fix the moment. Pause. Observe. Stay present. Let the moment breathe. Let the tension build. Let her feel it. Let her become aware of it. Because when you do that, when you truly understand how to hold your frame, you don't just attract women. You create a space where attraction grows on its own. And that is a level most men never reach. Number 6, she overtalks then says nothing. The final confession. Number 6, she talks too much, and then suddenly, she says nothing. This is the final confession, and if you don't understand it, you will miss the moment that separates the average man from the man who truly knows how to read human nature. She was lively just seconds ago, talking fast, laughing, asking questions, sharing stories you didn't even ask for. Her energy was flowing outward, almost overflowing. And then silence. She pulls back. Her eyes drop. Her hands become the center of her attention. She disconnects, not from you, but from the performance. What just happened? This is where most men get confused, and confusion is where they lose control. But you must not. You must understand this through old Stoic wisdom, because as Marcus Aurelius said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. And this moment? This is not about her behavior. It's about your interpretation. Understand this clearly. When she is talking too much, she is managing energy. When she becomes quiet, she is feeling it. That shift is not random. It is psychological. It is biological. It is real. Her mind becomes aware of your presence in a deeper way, and suddenly, she can no longer hide behind words. She is no longer trying to entertain. She is no longer trying to control the interaction. She is experiencing it fully. And that intensity creates pressure, internal pressure, emotional pressure, the kind that makes a person pause, retreat, and process. This is not rejection. This is absorption. This is the moment where attraction stops being playful and starts becoming real. Now listen carefully. This is where most men fail. They panic. They think the energy is gone. They think they did something wrong. So what do? They rush in. They talk more. They crack a joke. They try to fix the silence. That is the mistake. A critical mistake. Because that silence is not empty. It is full of tension, full of awareness, full of emotion that she is trying to understand. And when you interrupt it, you break the spell. You pull her out of that internal experience and bring her back to surface level interaction. That is why restraint is power. That is why Stoicism win is not just a phrase, it is a way of operating in moments like this. Be still. That is the instruction. Do not lean forward. Do not rush to fill the gap. Do not seek validation through words. Let the silence breathe. Let it expand. Let her sit in it. Because in that silence, she is replaying everything. Your tone, your presence, your energy. She is asking herself questions she cannot answer yet. Why does this feel different? Why can't I relax? Why am I thinking about him like this? That is not something you create by chasing. That is something you allow by holding your frame. And frame is everything. As Epictetus said, he who is not master of himself is a slave. Most men become slaves in that moment. Slaves to discomfort. Slaves to the need to be liked. Slaves to the fear of losing her attention. But you must not. You must build an iron mind. An iron mind does not react impulsively. It observes. It waits. It understands that silence is not an enemy, it is a tool. And when you master that, you step into a different category of man entirely. Think about modern life. Everyone is talking. Constantly. Notifications. Messages. Noise everywhere. People are addicted to filling space because they are uncomfortable with stillness. So when you become the man who is comfortable in silence, you stand out immediately. You become rare. You become grounded. You become the calm center in a chaotic world. And that is deeply attractive, not because of tricks, but because it signals something powerful: control. Control over yourself. Control over the moment. Now, let's go deeper. That shift from overtalking to silence is not just emotional, it is physiological. Her breathing changes. Her body becomes more aware. She starts fidgeting again, not out of boredom, but because she is regulating what she feels. She may look at you for a second longer than usual, then quickly look away. That is not random. That is awareness. She knows something is happening, even if she cannot explain it. And when a person becomes aware of their own feelings in real time, they become vulnerable. Not weak, vulnerable. And vulnerability, when met with calm strength, creates connection. So what do? You hold your ground. You stay relaxed. You don't chase the moment, you let it come to you. That is masculine energy at its finest. Not forceful, not loud, not desperate, but steady, present, unshaken. You must understand this. Attraction grows in space, not in pressure, not in noise, in space. And when you give her that space without losing your presence, you create something she cannot easily walk away from. Repeat this to yourself. Do not rush. Do not react. Do not break the moment. Let it unfold. Let it deepen. Let it breathe. This is how a high-value man operates. Not by trying to impress, but by allowing others to feel. And when they feel deeply in your presence, they associate that feeling with you. That is psychology. That is human nature. That is timeless. And this is exactly where old Stoic wisdom aligns perfectly with modern relationships. Because the Stoics never taught you to control others. They taught you to control yourself. And in doing so, you influence everything around you without force. That is the paradox. The less you try to control the moment, the more control you actually have. That is Stoicism win. That is how you move differently from the crowd. Now, understand one more thing. When she goes quiet, she is no longer testing you with words. She is observing you with awareness. She is watching how you handle the moment. Do you get nervous? Do you start talking too much? Do you break eye contact? Or do you stay composed? Do you remain centered? That is the real test. Not what you say, but how you exist when there is nothing to say. And most men fail that test because they were never taught to value stillness. But you're different now. You see it. You understand it. You recognize that silence is not the end of the interaction. It is the turning point. The moment where surface level attraction becomes something deeper. And if you can stay grounded in that moment, you create a memory, a feeling, something she will think about later when she is alone. And that is when attraction truly takes root. As Seneca said, true happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future. That is your mindset. You are not trying to force an outcome. You are not trying to rush to the next step. You are fully present, fully aware, fully in control of yourself. And that presence is what makes the difference. So remember this. When she talks too much, she is avoiding. When she becomes silent, she is feeling. Do not interrupt that process. Do not sabotage the moment. Be the man who understands it. Be the man who allows it. Be the man who can sit in silence without needing to escape it. That is strength. That is control. That is an iron mind. And when you operate from that place, you don't chase attraction. You become it. All right, my friend, that's where we wrap this up. Listen closely. What you've just learned isn't about chasing, forcing, or trying too hard. It's about slowing down, seeing clearly, staying grounded when most men lose control. The truth is simple. When you're calm, when you're present, when you don't rush, you give her space to feel everything naturally. And that's where real attraction lives. Not in words, not in effort, in your composure. So here's the advice you take with you. Stop reacting to every signal. Don't jump. Don't overthink. Just observe. Stay steady. Let the moment breathe. The man who can do that is the man who stands out without saying a word. If this opened your eyes even a little, drop a comment right now. Power is silent. Let it sink in. Let others see it too. Take care of yourself. Stay sharp. Stay calm. And I'll see you in the next one.